This is how I created $1 million in equity in 30 days.
$1 million of equity in 30 days? Are you a magician?
You sound like those talking heads that the younger generation make fun of. Maybe they make fun of us. And if you were to do it, make $1 million in equity in 30 days, I would have done it, Mitch.
I believe it because I've done it. So Mitch has done it. I've done it. Travis, I guess, haven't, even though you guys are business partners. Mitch?
Well, we actually did it together. But Travis has short-term memory loss. So
$1 million, $1 million. I mean, some people dream of becoming a millionaire over their lifetime. Even though $1 million isn't that much today, I think that $1 million is still a number that people think about. It sounds big. So some people wait a lifetime. Like they wish they could create $1 million of net worth. You did it in 30 days. Tell me about it.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing about commercial real estate. You get to detach the whole trade your time for money. And that starts with finding a really good deal. If you're able to find a really good deal, you don't have to have all the money in the world. You've got to understand how to take it down. You got to have the network. You know, have some great mentors around you, and you can actually go capture that equity and unlock that through the right, strategic operations of the actual asset. So, we've done this a couple different times. And the thing is, like, attaching time to it's really interesting because a lot of people do work all of their lives for like $1 million, for example, and they work really hard for that. When you step into commercial real estate, you're just buying small businesses. And if you're able to go in and see the value that the seller doesn't necessarily see or the market doesn't necessarily see, you can take advantage of that and you can go unlock that. I'll use one example in the Northwest up where we live. We found a deal that was, for sale for 1.9. We negotiated it to 1.6. After purchasing it, we raised most of the money. Actually, we went in with very little money. After purchasing it, we did some quick value add projects that first couple weeks. We got started really quickly, and we passed a fixed utility fee, and that was $70 times 50 units. Well, they were really, really far behind in rent, and
not behind. They were under market rent. So, like, I think
not behind. Sorry, under market rent. And so nobody gawked at it. Everybody expected it because they know that that's what it takes to maintain the community. But that $70 pass through pushed the property, several hundreds of thousands of dollars. That paired with the fact that we bought it under value was $1 million, and that was in the first 30 days. So I think the point though is, like, when you step into the commercial real estate world, or the business world for that matter, you start to detach the whole, I'm going to trade time for money. And that's where you start to build an amazing life, right? Because otherwise you're trading time for money, and then you trade your money for material, and then the material sort of, basically goes backward in value. Like, I wanted to get away from that. And by stepping into commercial real estate, you're able to do that. And that's why I think this concept's so fun to talk about.
I want to go back to one thing you said and then kind of dig into this a little bit more. You keep saying you found a deal, but we've done full episodes on how deals are made, not found. And when you describe this, I feel like you created a deal. You didn't find a deal. You made a deal. For one, you negotiated a lower price. You understood and knew the market. So at face value, it actually probably wasn't a deal with current rents, with no utility bill backs.
No, it wasn't. It was actually maybe we might have overpaid a little bit.
At asking price, it wasn't a deal. It didn't just fall in your lap, right? Like, you saw an opportunity, but then you looked at, because of your experience, because of the people you're around, because you've done this before, you're going, okay, I can create a good deal. Deals are made, not found. How do I take this property and make it a good deal? And you're okay, I need to negotiate on price. Okay, you understand that rents in the area, so maybe you did some research in the area, and you knew, okay, rents are extremely low. Utilities aren't being billed back. That would be a normal thing to do. And then all of a sudden you've created this deal because there's this $1 million upside without having to spend a bunch of money either. Keep in mind, you negotiated a better price. You did some modest rent bumps, but over 50 units. That's hard. You can't do that in single family or a duplex or a fourplex. Small rent increase on 50 units, and then the utility bill back, and then out of the thin air, $1 million of equity.
Yeah, you're creating value, and I think going back to that,
it was on the MLS. It was listed on the local public MLS. Everybody could have found that.
And we make deals by looking at all the variables. What's the debt? We had seller financing in this case. What's the purchase price? And then we, of course, dig into the numbers further than that. What do we have today? What do those numbers look like? But also, what's it going to look like after we pass utilities or increase rent or decrease expenses? And we know from understanding how properties are valued, we can understand what kind of equity we can unlock. The average person would have seen this deal and just passed on it. And they did. A lot of people locally were like, I'm not interested. It doesn't make sense to me, whatever. So like, I do think it takes, and I started at the very beginning, having the right people around you, the right mentors, the right sort of like group of people. Cause this is, by the way, I didn't get any growth until I started joining masterminds and actually getting the right people around me. Then I started to understand and build this filter for how to like see deals and how to like see the opportunities and tweak and make them. Before that, and it's funny because when I first moved down from Seattle, Travis moved down we both kind of moved back home to our hometowns. There was this deal for sale, what it was like 16 units in down the river from us, this apartment complex. And we both saw it. We were both like curious about it, but like we didn't have like the network or the knowledge or the know-how to put this thing together. We both missed a deal. Somebody else went and made, $1 million or whatever. So I do think like investing in your knowledge and your network is what you do to build that foundation. So when you see this thing, you can say, here's what I got to do to make it. And then here's what I got to do to unlock it. And then you unlock this thing that's incredible to go unlock $500,000 or $1 million in 30 days. It's life-changing, frankly. I mean, it was the first time I did this, and it changed my life for sure.
Hey guys, if you like what you're hearing on the 0 to 100 podcast, come join the 0 to 100 Elite Mastermind. We have a very simple goal for you. That's replace your day job, make $120,000 a year plus in cash flow, real estate, and become a millionaire. That's it. If you like that, if that's you, click the link below, and we'll see you on the 0 to 100 Elite Mastermind. To continue on in that vein though, Mitch, I think you said something important. I think if you're getting around the right people and you're digesting the knowledge, you're looking at lots of deals, your whole lens changes. There's sort of different levels of people that saw that. The first people that saw that, they saw, oh, that's just a rundown trailer park. Ha, 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 good luck. Those people, they went back to their jobs and now they're trading hours for dollars. There's other people that want to get into real estate, but they're like, man, this thing's overpriced. It's 1.9 million. They're selling that at like a 5 cap based on the current net operating income. That doesn't make sense. My cash on cash is crap. If I go get debt at X and put 25% down at Y, it's going to equal. But we went in and said, oh, we know the upside. We know this thing's like $200 under pad rent. We know it's inefficient on the expense side because the landlord is paying for all the utilities. We know that for every annual dollar of net operating income we create 10 to 20 times that in equity or value increase, which is huge. And then we went in and said, well, how do we make this deal work for us? Well, we went to the seller and said, well, what exactly do you want? He wanted a quick close. And we said, okay, well, then you need to carry a contract. He said, absolutely. I actually want to carry a contract. They didn't mention that in the MLS ad, but he's like, I want to carry a contract because I wanted an annuity stream for my kids, but I don't want to manage this thing. I'm like in my 80s. And so we said, we can close in 2 weeks. It actually took like 2 months because we had some title issues, but it was great. We architected seller financing, 10% down. We got the property at $300,000 under what he was asking. And we knew what the upside was. It was a win-win. And the thing that's interesting about that one, we sold that 23 months later. And Mitch and I, we had a third partner who brought the money in, most of the money. We tripled his money and we made $1 million. Like that stuff's real. And the thing that Mitch isn't talking about, we weren't grinding for 30 days, right? We did financial engineering. I don't know. What do you think we put that first 30 days, 10 hours into it?
But let's not gloss over that point. I mean, we started the episode talking about, hey, $1 million in 30 days or less. Look, and it may not always be 30 days, but I think the thing to point out in commercial real estate is, I like what Travis said. Did you say financial engineering? It's oftentimes like, I mean, we did a past episode and I mentioned the single family home I had and it had, $200,000 to $250,000 in equity. And Travis, you asked me like, how long did that take? And I'm doing the math. I'm like, oh, wow, that took about 14 years. Well, what about that first mobile home park? Oh, that took less than 2 years to create $1.5 million of equity, right? And I think Whether it's a mobile home park where you can do small, modest rent bumps over 30, 40, 50, 100 units, or utility bill backs, where it's not a huge financial burden or huge financial impact on the tenants, but a huge financial impact to your NOI as an owner. Same with a utility bill back, especially when you're buying, when you know the market and you're buying a property that's below market rent and doesn't have utilities being billed back. There's a lot of opportunity there. Also in the commercial space, triple net properties, which I've been really focused on these last few years, you can create a lot of equity through lease negotiations. I'm in contract on a property right now where it's a 20-year lease, an absolute triple net 20-year lease. So when I'm doing the math and I'm looking out over 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, it may not be $1 million of equity in 30 days. Although I've done that with a bunch of my mobile home parks, $1 million plus in equity over, a year, like that adds up. And that's small to do. That's That's hard to do in small multifamily. That's hard to do in single family. I do believe like small single family, they'll tick along. That equity will happen over time, but you can force appreciate properties by long-term lease negotiations, by small rent bumps, times however many tenants there are. And utility billbacks is a really easy and what we call a lazy reposition to not only optimize the property and not only optimize its cash flow, but also increase the total NOI, which actually increases the entire value of that property. And that's how you really create wealth it feels like just out of the thin air.
Yeah. And I think people need to get, the first thing is like Travis, you said, when you're looking at a deal, a lot of people think like, well, that's not possible, or this just sounds too outrageous or whatever. But you got to think we're all wired to trade our time for money. Like that's the wiring, but who wired us for that? Okay. I don't know necessarily the answer to that. We can say it's maybe the government or other businesses, or it happened during the Industrial Revolution. I don't know what it is. But the point is like, that's just one way of thinking. That's just one potential. That is not all of the potentials. That's not the only way to think. For me, it was always that though. It was like, what's my salary? What's my hourly? Basically, I'm going to sell my time, my life to the highest bidder. Whoever pays the most for me, I'll go to. And that's how I ran my life for a number of years. Regret it, right? Because I wish I would have known this stuff earlier. Then there's this entire population, a smaller population, but there's a population of folks that are real estate entrepreneurs, business entrepreneurs, right? Folks out there either buying or building real estate or business, and they're not connected to time. Money is not connected to time for these folks. And this is why you see these people going out and living other lives outside of work, leaving on a Tuesday for a month and going to Europe or going and doing other things. And so I think people need to realize that it's one option to trade your time for money. That's one option. There's other ways to go create value. And the way we do it is commercial real estate. There's a lot of other ways to do it as well. But like getting away from the whole, I'm going to trade my time for a dollar amount, I think is really important. And it took me a long time to realize that. But once I did realize that, and once I did it, I realized it was true. That one deal that we're talking about was put in my pocket twice as much in like 16 months as I'd saving half of my income for 14 years. Just to put it in perspective, like twice as much. So like I was trying to save my way to wealth or some sort of financial security. And by finding value and disconnecting my time from money, that was twice as much as I had saved. Actually, over twice as much as I had saved over 14 years. So I just think it's like a different way of thinking. It's a different paradigm.